Teacher Min defended me. In is very smart. In less than 10 days, she's reading poetry in a new language, very impressive. My father nodded. Not bad. The poem choice is good too. Teacher Min blushed, shyly leading me out of the office. That evening, my father took me to the basement. I was thrilled to see my mother again. I wore my prettiest dress, tucked Teacher Min's candy in my pocket, and skipped after him. This time, my mother was lying down, facing away. The chains on her ankles were gone, but her ankles bore bloody scars from the shackles. Recite today's poem for your mother, my father said, sitting by the bed, applying ointment to her wounds. I clutched the candy, earnestly reciting Tang Tea. After one recitation, he told me to repeat it. A few lines in, my mother sat up, covering my mouth tightly, her voice pained. Don't read anymore. Her hands were ice cold, without warmth. I felt sad and lowered my head. What? The poem isn't good. Didn't you used to love it? My father asked. She slowly released me, saying wearily, What do you want from me? He fed her food. Eat properly, live properly, and I'll let that person live. That person? Who? I didn't know, but it wasn't someone in the mansion. My mother silently shed tears but ate the food he fed her, though she clearly didn't want to. Go back to your room, my father said again. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to talk to her, give her candy, show her the grass butterfly I'd woven. But I didn't dare disobey him and shuffled out. Near the surface, I remembered I hadn't given her the candy and turned back, but saw something terrifying. My father was biting her neck, nearly drawing blood. She tilted her head back helplessly, as if already dead. I ran to my room but was lifted off the ground. The nanny held me, covering my mouth. She was strong. I couldn't break free and was carried back to my room. Nanny, father's going to bite mother to death, save her. I cried. She slapped me twice, dazing me. It'd be good if he killed her. When I came to, she'd locked the door. I could only stand by the window, crying. My father was so cruel, I might lose my mother today. Thankfully, he soon emerged, and the nanny brought new bedding and clothes to the basement. I returned to bed, pulling the blanket over me, still trembling. I didn't like my parents like this. I envied the village kids nearby, whose parents were always joyful, never fighting. That night, I had a high fever, my body burning. The nanny gave me bitter medicine, which I vomited up. Who told you to spit it out? Swallow it. She raised her hand to slap me. Sister Hyan, my father appeared, and her hand froze. He pinched my nose, forcing me to swallow the medicine, then touched my swollen face. Sister Hai, I said I'd raise my own child. Didn't you hear? The nanny stammered. She's disobedient. You're often away, and if we don't discipline her now, she'd be hard to control later. Back when I served Madam. Slap. Fong, my father's constant companion, struck her hard, clearly on my father's orders. She stood frozen, terrified. My father, without looking up, asked, Does it hurt? Clutching her face, she said, Yes. 3 times, and we're done, he said. Yes, she replied, hurrying away. My father had another maid care for me. Dazed, I looked at him. He seemed to care, but why did he usually ignore me, not let me go to school, or give me a real name? I didn't want to be called it sounded like a stray dog, but I clearly had a home. My cold lasted days, and I recovered after a week. Teacher Min came, bringing me a stuffed rabbit. It was my first toy, and I was so happy I carried it everywhere. She also brought a gift from my father, Longjing tea, picked before the rain in her hometown. I looked at her, feeling she was like those women who flocked to him, giving gifts, hoping I'd mention them. Thank you, but I don't drink tea, he predictably refused. Teacher Min, holding the tea, asked, What does Brother Then like to drink? Water, he lied. He clearly liked cassia seed tea. Uncle Ba said it was good for the eyes and that my mother had won him over with such small gestures. But I didn't like it, it was so bitter. I didn't know how he drank it. During class, Teacher Min whispered, The Does your father have a girlfriend? I shook my head. He only had my mother. Do you like me? She asked. I said I did. She gave me candy and toys. I really liked her. Her eyes sparkled with joy. She must like me too. I looked toward the garage. Since my fever, I hadn't seen my mother, and I wondered how she was. When Teacher Min left, I sat reading on the garden steps, my stuffed rabbit beside me, the nanny watching from afar. Since my father had her disciplined, she stopped being harsh or hitting me, but her gaze remained cold. When sober, Uncle Ba called me the princess of this borderland, noble despite being unloved, and told me not to fear anyone, as my father was the most powerful. Looking at my dirty dress, I didn't want to be a princess just to play freely or fly away like a bird. My father returned late, with the uncles, the yard full of black cars. Despite the crowd, everyone was quiet, as if something serious had happened. I peeked from my window. My father, face stern, stood by a car as Uncle Long dragged a bloodied man out, heading to the small building behind the mansion. I never dared go near that building. I'd seen my father and uncles beat people there with water tanks, meat grinders, snakes, poisonous insects, and drooling dogs. I didn't like my father bringing people here or beating them. Being hit hurt. When the nanny hit me, it stung for hours, let alone those struck with iron rods. I barely slept, haunted by nightmares when I did. At breakfast, my father looked troubled. Usually after catching someone, he'd be in high spirits, but today he was grim, barely touching his food. Perhaps because of the man caught last night. He went to the basement, and I worried he'd take his anger out on my mother. I paced anxiously, but thankfully he came out, his lip bleeding but his mood better, even inviting me to see her. Overjoyed, I grabbed my stuffed rabbit and saved candies, happily heading to the basement. At her door I froze. The room was a mess, my mother half kneeling by the bed, clothes torn, blood on her lips. Seeing me, she slowly stood. I rushed to help her sit, checking if my father had bitten her neck raw. Thankfully, there were only teeth marks, no wounds. He'd been lenient. This time she spoke to me. Why are you here? Her voice was soothing, like the gentle stream near the mansion, each word carrying warmth and sunlight. Thrilled, she spoke. I offered her the rabbit. Father said I could see you. Mother, Teacher Min gave me this. It's so soft. And this candy too, try it, it's sweet. I handed her the candy, but it brushed a wound, making her wince. She pressed a tissue to it, covering herself with a jacket, staring at me blankly. I rambled, saying my father didn't usually bite people and must have had a toothache, as I wanted to bite things when my teeth hurt. She stayed silent. I asked when the baby would be born, whether it was a boy or girl, promising to care for them and take them to play. She didn't respond, her eyes even showing a hint of disdain. I recalled the nanny saying she didn't want me when pregnant, trying to kill me in the womb, and I only survived because my father had doctors and nurses watch her. But here, without them, what stopped her from harming this baby? I lost confidence talking to her but couldn't stop. Mother, give me a real name. I don't want to be in it sounds like a puppy. Her long lashes trembled, beautiful like butterfly wings.
He didn't name you? I assumed he was my father.
No, and he didn't let me go to school. But I heard school is fun, with lots of friends. I want to go, but Teacher Min said I need a real name. She said, tell him to name you. Disappointed, neither parent cared about my name. I was stuck with in. Later, she softly asked, last night, did someone come? Surprised she knew. Since the room blocked outside sounds, I realized my father must have told her. Yes, a man, I answered honestly. Is he dead? I shook my head. I don't know. She leaned against the bed, eyes closed, looking sad. I wanted to hug her. But the nanny came, and I had to leave. At the iron gate, I looked back, seeing tears roll down her cheeks. Back at the mansion, I snuck through bush, heart heavy, and fell into a ditch, scraping my hands and knees. Intending to sneak to my room, my father saw me. How did you fall? He asked, frowning as a maid fetched medicine. I mumbled. I was chasing a butterfly, didn't watch my step, and fell into a ditch. It was my first lie to him, my heart pounding, fearing he'd know. He beckoned me over, and I timidly approached. He brushed leaves and wood chips off me, saying gently, 10 years old, still as naughty as when you were little. When will you grow up? I stared, stunned. He remembered me as a child. But 10 was still a child. Being naughty wasn't bad. The maids bathed me, applied medicine, and dressed me in clean clothes. Then my father took me to see my mother. I'd been wondering how to tell her the man was alive, and now my father unexpectedly gave me the chance. She wasn't crying anymore, sitting quietly,